We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
Well, isn't it funny how these things work out? It was Kamala Harris who promised to eliminate free speech. The media lies to us all about it. Yet, real Americans saw right through the BS and took out their frustrations on Election Day. All right, folks, Donald Trump is naming quite the staff, and Democrats, if they weren't already, are now shaking in their boots. Funny enough, the radicals did everything they could to make us fear Trump. They wanted America to think he was going to weaponize the DOJ. Trump was, and do anything he could to cancel free speech. One of the two presidential candidates promised to do just that. It just wasn't the one the media told you it was. Anyway, let's get into some rapid reactions, shall we? And folks, I told you yesterday just how happy the mega media meltdown is making me. So we're going to stay on them and document their misery the same way they promised to celebrate the downfall of you, me, and Donald Trump. All us garbage people, remember that? You can almost guarantee one or two headlines a day now detailing the despair and chaos happening within the walls of MSDNC. Yesterday, I told you about Whoopi Goldberg, a multi-millionaire who decided to cry poor post-election. She actually had the audacity to come out and say she would leave The View if it weren't for her tremendous amount of bills she has to pay and the salary she needed. Hold on a second. Whoopi's worth $60 million, folks. She makes $8 million a year. Somehow, this woman wants us to believe she's feeling the pinch at the gas pump or the grocery line. Bullshit, Whoopi. Well, Whoopi, it seems like your bosses have maybe they were listening, because the MSDNC overlords are aggressively searching for pro-Trump panelists to join the terrible table of The View. They want a pro-Trump panelist on The View. Now, let's remember that Alyssa Farah, off to the right side of the screen, used to work for Trump, but she's foolishly came out against Trump, and now guess what? They're going to replace her. Bye-bye, Alyssa Farah. Thanks for lying. See you later. I don't know where you can go now. Where are you going to go? The View doesn't even want you. Well, it's simple. Every personality on that miserable show took their Kamala Harris as their president, as their pick, and stapled it to their reputation. These ladies aren't quite Kamala supporters. They're some of the loudest, most radical anti-Trumpers in the country. Now that the dust is settling, the entire world sees just how fraudulent each one of these people are. Every one of those ladies of The View. The show, tanking. And we love it here. Speaking of MSDNC, joyless Joy Reid did all of us a favor the other day.
Hey guys, so today I finally did something I've been meaning to do for a while. And the reason for doing it, and kissing goodbye my 1.9 million followers over there, is because I hadn't been posting for a long time. I just didn't want to contribute content once it was purchased by its present owner. But just having it there, I was only holding on to it because I, really didn't want someone trying to take over that name and using it for nefarious purposes. I was a little bit worried about that. And also every so often I would use it to just sort of look at news that was trending and what's happening. And I would just sort of use it as an aggregator. But I just realized that that's not really worth it, because in order to do the news aggregation and just look at all, you have to wade through a lot of dreck and a lot of just abuse and a lot of just negativity. And it's just not worth it. And,
Well, thank you, Joy. Thank you. Guess what? No one cares. Of course, she isn't the only self-righteous airhead who thinks we give a damn about her Twitter account. Let's talk about some of the celebrities. A pair of irrelevants, Don Lemon and Jamie Lee Curtis, also jumped the X ship yesterday. They made big announcements about it, too, like they're leaving the country or something. We'll get to that in a second. Sincerely, No one is going to miss you, Donnie Lemon. By the way, even if you did leave the country, bye-bye. In fact, I'll tell you what, Don, you want to go? I will pay for you first-class ticket anywhere in the world. One way, though. Here's a big one. Something that is a Republican did, it would cause an absolute war if someone like, I don't know, Trump did it. Listen to CNN's Jim Acosta blatantly lie about the election.
And he's claiming a popular vote victory that did not occur.
What the hell? Are you kidding me? Reason number 1 billion not to trust the mainstream media. Any of them, the legacy media. That guy is spreading lies that can so easily be fact-checked. The thing is, he's on CNN, an ultimate safe space for liars, a protected ivory tower of misinformation. They can say whatever the hell they want. There's no such thing as a fact check in their neck of the woods. The Trump landslide has the fake journalists and their brainwashed audience going absolutely bonkers. We showed you last week the immediate aftermath, the yelling, the crying, the head shaving. But here's one that anyone would agree is way, way off the deep end. Of a prominent transgender journalist. Hold on, I got to process this. The wife of a prominent transgender journalist. Can't figure that one out, really. I guess I'm not woke enough. Anyway, this person, wife of a transgender journalist, hacked her father to death with an ice axe after Trump won. You heard me right. She brutally murdered a family member, her father, over a presidential race. Gets worse. Corey Burke considered the bloody rampage in which she allegedly strangled, bit, and hacked her 67-year-old father in the $800,000 Seattle home they shared as an act of liberation, the documents allege. Again, folks, as insane and radical as this one example is, you have to generally consider what caused this. The demonic freak, this woman, this transgender freak, was fed years of lies by the corporate media. Remember, they called Trump Hitler. He was going to indoctrinate people, put them in prison camps. Lies that guaranteed a specific future, a future that did not come to fruition last week. Her transgender partner worked in the media swamp and probably brought home all of the anti-American, anti-Trump, Trump derangement syndrome headlines that they wrote about. And then the landslide came. Kamala lost. She went nuts, these trannies. They went nuts like all of the other liberals did. But clearly, this one had some sinister capabilities that, unfortunately, she decided to act upon, which brings me to that point where, listen, you do you. I'm a libertarian. I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care how you dress. Just don't mess with other people. Live your own life, but don't push it on other people. But they seem, this trans community, it's less than 2% of the population. It's like 1.3% of the population. They seem to get really violent and really angry that they're not held up on some sort of pedestal. And when they don't get what they want, they get violent. And that was just one of those cases of it. Have fun rotting in prison for the rest of your life, you freak. Trump is still the president-elect. I hope you're ruining your life. I hope that was worth it. But back to the root of the issue, the media and their ability and capability to completely distort our perception of reality. Sunny Hostin just admitted, the View lady, just admitted that she tried to toss Kamala a softball question solely for the purpose of getting a few sound bites, maybe a few positive write-ups. Now, listen to this carefully.
To remind people what the question was, it was, what would you have done differently? I
asked the vice president what she would do differently in a Biden and in Harris administration as opposed to a Biden administration.
And what if anything, she wishes she could have done differently in the past 4 years, or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I followed up because I was surprised at the answer. Look, I think it wasn't so much about the question, but it was really more about the answer.
Not a thing comes to mind.
Not a thing comes to mind. And that's why I followed up with, is there anything that you would do differently? And the reason I followed up is because, that wasn't a gotcha question. That was a layup, really.
Yeah. See, so she throws what she thought would be a softball question to Kamala Harris, the candidate who wanted to be president, who was honestly, they thought she was leading at the time. She throws up this softball question, and Harris is so vacant, so vapid up here. She turns a softball question into what could be, the reason why she lost. I wouldn't change a thing from this horrendous last 4 years that Joe Biden, like her opportunity was obviously, hey, Kamala, you want to be president? What would you do differently than this miserably, horribly rated, horribly polling Joe Biden administration? What would you do differently? And she could have said, I would do everything differently. I would have closed the border. I wouldn't have spent so much money. I would have kept inflation low. She could have said any of those, but she was so in over her head. She said, I can't think of anything right now. This is exactly, by the way, what's wrong with the mainstream legacy media. They're tossing a presidential candidate a layup of questions. How many of those layups did Trump get? The best part is it backfired, and Sonny Hostin knows it did. Kamala Harris fumbled the easiest question of a lifetime twice, simply because she's a moron. Sorry. It's just the liberal media, not them only. Neil Cavuto over at Fox News, he's got a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome and it's just as bad as the rest of them. He's a conservative in disguise who hates the thought of what Trump is trying to build. Folks, we're seeing the deterioration of the corporate media as these companies die from the inside out. The lies that were once the foundation of their success have suddenly been proven false. Trump exposed them. That's what this is. Trump exposed them. In better words, places like CNN and MSNBC no longer have a leg to stand on. Even Fox with Cavuto and others there. They can't pivot back to telling the truth now because they built a name for themselves on spreading hate and misinformation, especially about Trump and anyone who supports Trump's agenda. Society will be a much better place once all this crap is eliminated. I thought they would at least survive a few months into the Trump administration, but by the looks of it, every ounce of their credibility will be long gone by Inauguration Day. Okay, folks, in 2021, my good friends at Goya launched Goya Cares, a global initiative to protect the children and to educate children on mental health. Goya Cares, this is really important. They're providing schools and community centers with a preventative education curriculum and a free assembly that includes the viewing of the Goya Cares movie called Press Pause. Press Pause is intended to raise awareness regarding mental health issues, abuse, and bullying among children, teens, and within our communities. Press Pause is an educational film following a young girl, a 15-year-old girl named Sophia Rodriguez, as she navigates adolescence, self-doubt, and an abusive relationship amid her parents' turbulent divorce, set within the cultural context of her Hispanic family. The film explores her discomfort with unwanted attention from her uncle and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection like all girls do and little boys do in high school. It introduces the Press Pause campaign promoting kindness and advocacy, highlighted by Sophia leaving a note saying, "You matter," to a friend of hers, a bullied peer. The film encourages open family communication about mental health and culminates in Sophia's transformative realization of her right to seek help. Through the power of empathy and small acts of kindness, Press Pause displays the importance of being proactive in supporting your community and underscores the critical importance of self-advocacy. Really important. Good on you, Goya Cares and Goya. Right now, for today's Truth Bomb. Okay, so everyone's talking about Matt Gaetz. They're all freaked out on the left. Even some people on, by the way, can I just say this right here, right now? Truth bomb. Any of you senators who are pretending you're not going to vote to push Matt Gaetz through as Attorney General, you're lying. You're full of shit. You're full of crap. Good example. Now, I know the guy a long time. He used to live in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham was asked in the corridors of Congress, in the Senate building, what do you think of the Matt Gaetz appointment immediately after it was announced? And Lindsey said, I'm not so sure about that one. Well, the left ran with it and said Lindsey Graham's not going to vote for Matt Gaetz. Lindsey quickly backtracked and fixed his commentary last night because Lindsey Graham, as well as everyone else in that Senate, know that if you vote against Matt Gaetz or Pete Hegseth or Kristi Noem or any of them that are controversial or any of them at all, your political futures and your lives are in severe jeopardy. They're all going to vote for him. But in the meantime, when this came out, I just love this because I think back when Matt really, and I call him Matt because he's a friend of mine, when Matt really made his bones, when he ousted, literally, Matt Gaetz ousted Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House back last January. This is so great. Remember that back and forth? We were doing TV into the night, but this is hilarious. Remember bad lip reading? Watch this.
Son, what does a gopher build? Can you say it? Well, who knows? A really rich doctor said you were a bummer. And I think you don't know algebra. No, we're talking science, bud. The science of what? Is that a tiger? One of your friends promised me I could flick you in your face. Absolutely, you may not do that.
Hit him in his cringy smirk, for real.
Say any cereal name. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You're like people in the 12th century. Why'd he say it like that? You're a formulated pickle
Worse
popper.
than that, he's a storm cloud.
I don't like you, dude. And there's a tiger. That's it. You two guys sent the tiger.
I did not me.
What
I mean,
tiger? That is reprehensible.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Brad?
I'm a horrible person.
Brad, I'll report you to Nadine. I just want your leg bones to be okay. I brought the tiger. Really, you got somebody on the organ now? Hey man, you're gonna pay for dinner. You're gonna pay. No.
Yeah. Okay. Love Matt Gaetz. He's the reason we got rid of that rhino, Kevin McCarthy. And by the way, Kevin McCarthy thinking that he was going to be chief of staff. Nice try. You got to love bad lip reading. And that was just a great summation of what was probably really going on, a really heated discussion between the two of them. Truth bomb, folks. All right, the deep state is in panic mode. Remember crying Adam Kinzinger? Well, he's crying again, kind of.
So we just got word. It's Matt Gaetz for Attorney General. Tulsi Gabbard for DNI. Tulsi loves Russia. I know you voted for it, but this is a problem. Senate, you better stop some of this. Faith leaders, you voted for this. Some of you.
Well, give him a 3 seconds, he'd probably start bawling, wussy. He's not really crying, but Adam probably just finished crying and feels like having a cry again because he and his DC swamp creature friends are in deep trouble because Matt Gaetz is Trump's pick for Attorney General. Who the hell saw that coming? And it's going to go through. And so the story continues. President Trump is certainly raising eyebrows and maybe raising his middle finger to all the people on the left who doubted him. So much so that even Democrat Senator John Fetterman recognizes that it's the ultimate masterclass in political chess. And everyone is tuning in like it's the NFL draft picks.
I mean, I would describe it as God-tier level trolling to just trigger a full-on China syndrome to own the libs in perpetuity.
So no one on the left likes it that a person who called them out for their utter BS for the past 4 years is suddenly going to have the power to do something about it. That's called trolling, apparently. It's also making everyone very uncomfortable, apparently. The Wall Street Journal published an editorial. Wall Street Journal, owned by Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox News. Let's not forget how this works, right? Rupert Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal, owns Fox News, supposedly conservative. Wall Street Journal published an editorial called Matt Gaetz is a bad choice for Attorney General, in which they write, and I quote, he's a nominee for those who want the law used for political revenge, and it won't end well. Those who want the law used for political revenge. The old school establishment rhino legacy media thinks we're all very, very stupid. That's it. That's what it is. There's no other way to explain it. They think we remember nothing of the past 4 years. Remember the COVID lunacy? Remember the treatment of the January 6ers? Remember parents being called domestic terrorists just because they wanted to have a say in what their kids were learning? The repeated attempted takedown, the lawfare directed at Donald Trump. Let's just be clear here. The American people have completely lost trust in our institutions, and for good reason. They used every inch of lawfare they could find to come after the 45th president. Every single person turned on their televisions and saw helicopters hovering above Mar-a-Lago. A case, by the way, that is now about to be a distant memory, which of course proves that it was entirely bullshit to begin with, fabricated with the sole purpose of trying to prevent President Trump from getting back into the White House. See how that worked? Never mind that Joe Biden did exactly the same thing, even worse, left him in his garage unlocked with his son, Hunter Biden, who would bring in drug dealers and hookers into that same garage. We have pictures of Hunter with two hookers in the same car that was parked in the garage next to the files, the classified files in Joe Biden's garage. But somehow the DOJ allowed Joe to hide behind his dementia. Remember, he's just old, too old to prosecute. How did that go anyway? Yep, Joe Biden hid classified documents, but it's okay in this instance because he's an elderly man with poor memories. This happened. Merrick Garland did this. The left did this. We're where we are because the left collectively lost their, common sense, their minds. Everything became a blatant and unjustified war. On the right, lock us all up, find reasons to do it. Maybe they said the wrong thing online. Question our agenda. Do we not remember? Of course we remember. We voted for it to get rid of it. How Dr. Flip-Flopping Fauci and the NIH lied to Americans about the origins of COVID, and then we found out that he lied to us to our face. Rand Paul found out. Who was there? Remember the hearing, the House Oversight Committee, calling these agencies out, making them squirm in their seats every single time? Who did that? Who did that?
We do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them and will you provide those communications?
You make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about.
Again, what do they call it? Attorney General Designate, Colin told me how the proper way to say it. Attorney General Designate Gaetz is a lawyer. He knew how to question the Attorney General of the United States. This is going to be freaking delicious to watch. I'm going to love this. More of that, please. That was back in June when it became very clear that the offices of Letitia James and Fani Willis were in cahoots with the Department of Justice. And when Attorney General Garland was asked to provide communications to the contrary, he danced around it. That's what we're dealing with, not anymore. Corruption, coordination at the highest levels of our government, deep state, hard at work, folks. And President Trump is making cabinet picks that look to deal with the members of the deep state in every corner of the shady corners of Washington. Every single group, every single sector, every single part that lives and breathes in D.C. in the swamp is about ready to be dismantled. And that is making the deep state operatives very uncomfortable. Adam Kinzinger is definitely crying by now. Every single freak out there in every single cabinet post means that President Trump is doing it right. He's after, get rid of them all. All the freaks got to go. Every single post from the left pooping on Matt Gaetz as the pick for Attorney General is considered an endorsement. Just look at this. A tweet by an author, Barb McQuaid, who took text and said, quoting, Gaetz is such an astonishingly poor choice for AG that this really could be just a ploy to make his ethics probe go away. Beltway howls, Trump withdraws his nomination, and Gaetz, having been reelected in November, gets a fresh start in January. Hold on. Here's how dumb you are, Barb. Here's how dumb you are. Gaetz resigned from Congress yesterday. You only resign from Congress when you're sure that you're going to get that attorney general job. It's going through. there's not a senator that's going to vote against it on the right. Yeah, it'll be split down party lines, but elections have consequences. We hold the Senate, we hold the House, the Senate, the White House, conservatives do. He's going to get through. So Barb, no, this isn't a way to get Matt Gaetz out of trouble. He resigned his Congress seat because he knows he's going to be the next Attorney General of the United States. By the way, that's the best endorsement of Matt Gaetz yet. Who, by the way, is Barb McQuaid? Oh, well, Barb is a proud member of the Trump Derangement Syndrome Army and firmly believes that Trump is a threat to democracy. And if Barb is against something, you can count on it. That's something being moral. That something is moral, fair, just, constitutional, and in the best interest of you, me, and the United States. And by the way, if John Bolton hates it, well, you know it's right for America.
Well, it must be the worst nomination for a cabinet position in American history. I think this is something that falls well outside the scope of deference that should be given to a president in nominating members of his senior team. Gaetz is not only totally incompetent for this job, he doesn't have the character. He is a person of moral turpitude. And notwithstanding how difficult it may be politically, this is a nomination the Republican Party should oppose.
Johnny Mustache is really upset about this pick, isn't he? Johnny Mustache, the neocon who never found a war he didn't support, is really upset about Trump winning because Trump has said no more foreign wars. And by the way, real quickly, Tulsi Gabbard, she's going to be in charge of deciding if there's a war to be had. She's anti-war. This is just delicious. People like you, John Bolton, are dinosaurs, rhino dinosaurs. You're extinct. You're going extinct. Trump winning a second term just put the nail in the coffin of the rhino establishment. This is beautiful. You won't see John Bolton on TV a year from now. Yeah, there'll be a lot of Trump haters that come on, but people like him, there's no use for him anymore. This is driving the left absolutely bonkers. The deep state, absolutely bonkers. Those neocons like Bolton, bonkers. The willing and faithful members of the old way of doing things, bonkers. President Trump is literally turning Washington upside down. The swamp as they know it, every single cabinet pick reiterates that exact point. They're going to drain that freaking swamp. They're living in a twilight zone as far as the deep state is concerned. We, rational Americans, are the ones who understand what's been so wrong about America under Democrat leadership and what needs to change. We understand that this new way forward has to happen in order to save the Republican. Thank God it did. Democrats are once again singing off the same hymnal that they are the ones who are on the right side of history, but you're not. This is our side of history. Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, their side is Karl Marx and Fidel Castro. Our side, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump. Their side is Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. Our side is freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms, real, spirited, and unstifled, uncensored debate. Their side, speech codes, religious persecution, cancel culture, DEI, wokeism. Our side is Jackie Robinson. Their side, Colin Kaepernick. Their way of doing things is done. It's over, folks. If Donald Trump didn't come down that escalator in Trump Tower nearly 10 years ago, someone else would have to, because the left made it possible, necessary even, for there even to be a Donald Trump. Democrats just do not understand that it is they who created President Donald Trump. It is they who created Donald Trump. I say it again. Barack Obama, the Democrat beacon, the great hope, famously promised to fundamentally transform the United States of America. And that he did in his neo-Marxist weaponization of the federal government. He tried to, folks. He tried to. And he tried to do it along racial lines. And now, 10 years later, we're fundamentally untransforming it. Think about that. We're undoing Barack Obama's work of 10 years ago, 10 years ago. If the Democrats have just ruled out from the middle of Obama, promised to do what he was campaigning for, the White House, we'd probably be talking about President Jeb Bush. He'd probably be finishing, Jeb Bush would be finishing his second term right about now. Imagine that. And where are Barack and Michelle Obama right now? Well, Barack and Michelle Obama are worth an estimated $70 million. Michelle hates America so much. Remember, she said, I'm finally not embarrassed to live here. She's more than willing to take advantage of these amazing financial opportunities to become a multi-millionaire, isn't she? The left have been playing a dirty political game of chess for years now, one that Republicans have refused to entertain. Democrats have flipped the system. Well, they did in their favor. They'd use the system to go after and attack their opponents, all while making big money off the very system they pretend to hate and want to fix. Oh, they hate capitalism so much, right? Well, how about you, Nancy Pelosi? I don't have you complaining about making $300 million off the Dow and the S&P. Barack Obama never complained about his multi-million-dollar book deals and his speech fees. That's the system. That's what it always has been. And each side was guilty of it. So everyone turned their cheek. Everyone took turns. It was the left and the right. Rhinos loved it too. They made big money too. Then they tossed the ball over to liberals. It went back and forth. But Trump came in and he disrupted it all. The brilliant comedian Dave Chappelle pointed this out once on Saturday Night Live when Democrats hounded Trump for his tax returns. Remember that? Hill Shady Clinton tried to push him on his taxes in a debate. He answered brilliantly. And as Chappelle points out so wisely, it was that moment that star was born.
Or maybe he doesn't want the American people, all of you watching tonight, to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities when he was trying to get a casino license, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid.
Well, that makes him smart. Trump's larger point was that the system is flawed. He used it because because people like you, Hillary, built it. People like Hillary and those rhinos and those deep state bullies built the system to be taken advantage of. Trump's larger point was this: you, Hillary, and all of your millionaire friends have benefited from that system you seem to hate so much. You created it. And until it's changed, the corruption would go on. Every single one of these cabinet picks right now by Trump is set to disrupt everything the swamp knows and has known, and they know it.
Seems like every time I turn around, they're engaged in surveillance or list building or monitoring, and I don't care if it takes every second of our time and every ounce of our energy. We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF, DOJ, every last one of them, if they do not come to heel.
And that's why Matt Gaetz is the next Attorney General. And that's why the disruption that we're talking about matters so much. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy took a shot at Gaetz today, saying that he, quote, won't get confirmed as AG. Kevin McCarthy said that. Woo! Knowing the history of this past year and the showdown for the House Speaker that took place, that was ignited by Matt Gaetz himself, all I would say to that comment is, always consider the source and always consider the context. Kevin McCarthy, just go away. You're one of those rhinos, the establishment rhinos. Total change in the system, folks. This is exactly what they're crying about, both on the left and the rhino class that is now going extinct. As we've been talking about, Trump's Attorney General pick sent waves across the political world, but it's hard to argue with the fire that Matt Gaetz brings to the table.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Well, that was incredible, folks. That was before Trump won. Gaetz got cojones. That's what Trump likes. He likes people with cojones, not afraid to say what they feel. It's incredible. Exactly what the party is trying to build, a culture of no bullshit. Eliminate the liberal marshmallows who are offended by just every single little thing. Toughen up, America. And that's it. Don't forget, hit subscribe on the show. We love having you. We're growing like crazy. We love it. There's some really cool announcements that we may be able to make very soon. Hit subscribe, YouTube, Rumble, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We love having you, love being with you, and we'll bring it to you every single day. Again, if something happens overnight, in the morning, or on weekends, we'll get it to you too. Love you guys. See you again. Bowling out for Thursday.